A woman came into the gold and silver pawn shop with an old guitar case that was taped up with yellow duct tape. It looked like she had been holding on to a big secret for years because she was tense and worn out. There was dust in the air when she put the case on the counter in front of Rick Harrison. She told him that her husband had died 3 weeks before after a long fight with cancer. He told her that the guitar and the case might be worth more than $1 million before he died. He had hidden it for more than 50 years because he thought dangerous people would want to find it. He also told her to give the guitar to Rick Harrison because Rick would know what to do if something happened to him. Rick paid close attention and asked about her husband. He was a session guitarist who had worked in recording studios in the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s, she said. His name was Raymond Mills. Rick knew the name because a lot of session players from that time played on well-known records without getting credit. As witnesses, Rick asked a few people from the shop to stand nearby. He then carefully began cutting the old tape off the box. Everyone was quiet when he opened it. This 1954 Fender Stratocaster with a golden finish was being kept inside. The guitar had normal wear from being played for decades, and its unique changes made it look just like the lost instrument that collectors have been looking for since the late 1960s. Right away, Rick knew that the guitar could be worth a few $1 million if it was real. But Rick had recently gotten a strange letter warning him that a smart group of con artists had been making fake old guitars and telling plausible stories about them to scam traders and collectors. Rick decided that he needed to check the guitar more carefully than any other item he had ever looked at. The woman then gave Rick an old letter that her husband had told her to bring only after seeing the guitar. There was a black and white picture of a recording studio from 1968 inside. It was clear that a popular musician was holding the same guitar in the picture. History of Music said that musician had never been seen playing a Fender Stratocaster, which was very strange. This meant that either the picture was fake or history was missing some information. Rick called Jesse Amoroso, a guitar expert he trusts, and asked him to come to the shop after work. Jesse showed up with expert gear like ultraviolet lights, microscopes, tools for analyzing wood, and even a portable X-ray machine. He carefully looked at every part of the guitar for 2 hours, including the wood grain, the electronics, the screws, the paint that was getting old, and the fret wear. When he was done, Jesse said that the instrument seemed real in every way. Since the shoes had been played for decades, the wear patterns looked natural and uniform, which is very hard for fakes to copy. The woman then showed another piece of proof, a book that her husband had written. From 1954 to 1969, the diary had dates and times of recording events, as well as the initials of musicians who had played guitar in studios. A lot of those artists went on to become famous in blues and rock music. Her husband said that the guitar used to belong to a record label studio and was used by different singers during recording sessions. In 1969, federal agents looking into financial crimes and ties to organized crime broke into the studio. Raymond Mills took the guitar quietly during the raid because he thought it would be lost forever if it ended up in evidence storage or at a government sale. He hid it for many years because he thought that one day the truth about the guitar would be told in a safe way. The estate of a record executive who had owned the studio sent a lawyer named Marcus Webb to talk to Rick while he continued to look into the past. The lawyer said the guitar had been stolen in 1969 and should have been legally owned by the executive's family. He even gave Rick a list of his goods from 1968 that showed a 1954 Stratocaster with the same serial number. This made things difficult in court because Raymond Mills had been protecting the guitar for decades, but the studio's estate might still own it legally. Rick, the woman, and the lawyer talked about possible solutions after a few conversations. After some discussion, they finally decided that the guitar could be sold at a big auction house. The widow and the estate would each get some of the money. However, Jesse Amoroso asked Rick to meet with him alone before the sale could happen. Jesse told them that he had seen the guitar before. He had been paid by a private client to check the same instrument in a hotel room 23 years before, when he was just starting out as an authenticator. Ray Mills had been that man, but he was using a fake name. While he was still new to his job, Jesse wrote an authentication report for the guitar but didn't ask many questions about its past. Jesse felt bad that he hadn't told Rick this earlier, but Rick liked how honest he was. While the news hurt Jesse's image, it didn't. changed the fact that the guitar looked like the real thing. As the sale date got closer, something strange happened. Families of some of the singers Raymond Mills wrote about in his diary started getting in touch with Rick. They said that their families had played on recordings in the 1950s and 1960s but were never given credit because record companies often used fake session musicians to save money. The notebook and the guitar could finally show that they were used in well-known songs. Rick knew that the full story behind the guitar might never be known to the public if it was sold to a private buyer. He set up a meeting with the widow, the lawyer, and family members of the players. Rick came up with a new idea after hours of talking about it. Instead of selling the guitar for millions of dollars, they could give it to a museum so that everyone could learn about its past and each musician who played on it could be recognized. Rich collectors and music fans could give money to the widow and the estate to help pay their respects. At first, the idea didn't seem possible, but a lot of fans agreed because they wanted to keep music history alive. In the end, enough gifts came in to pay for the plan. The guitar was kept in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame permanently, along with facts about the musicians who played it and Raymond Mills's 50-year journey to protect it. The widow got a lot of money and set up a fund to help the families of session musicians who were not given enough credit. The record executive's family took their fair share and said in public that the old record label made mistakes. Rick Harrison turned down a big possible job, but he was proud that the guitar's story was finally told in an honest way. In the end, the instrument was worth a lot of money, but what was really important was how the musicians were honored and how the choice would live on.